everyone, and welcome to day 1. Today we are going to be discussing the pelvic floor and how we can most effectively breathe in order to encourage its mobility. This is a model of our pelvic floor. As you can see, it's oriented like a bowl. And the main job of the pelvic floor is to help support all of the contents above it, all of our organs and all of our stomach contents against gravity. So we are going to be learning how to help that pelvic floor move around by integrating it into a breath. I consider this exercise a range of motion exercise for your pelvic floor. If we don't breathe in the right way for our pelvic floor, we won't be able to lengthen it or strengthen it as effectively. So really, this is the cornerstone of the entire course, and I encourage you to look back on this content as often as you need to in order to really understand what I'm about to say. So, your pelvic floor and your diaphragm work together like a piston. When one moves up, the other moves up, and when one moves down, the other moves down. This allows us to have core control and strength and stability in our bodies. I'm going to be explaining this breath via the diaphragm because I find it easier to understand. So, when we breathe in, our diaphragm has to drop down to allow us to have new air and to enter into our lungs. At the same time, our pelvic floor also drops down because of that piston action. And so when we breathe in, our pelvic floor lengthens and relaxes. On the other hand, when we breathe out, our diaphragm has to come up to help us push old air out of our lungs. And because of that piston action, our pelvic floor also comes up. When we're practicing this breathing, I don't want you to think about a contraction on the breath out. I want you to just think about a nice rebound effect. I usually tell people to picture a trampoline. When you breathe in, the pelvic floor comes down, and when we breathe out, it springs back up without us really helping it. So, we're going to practice that breath together, but we're going to try doing it on a yoga ball. This is going to help you really understand and feel how that pelvic floor moves up and down. If that's not something that's available to you, I would encourage you to take a really soft, cushy couch cushion or cushion from your bed and put it on the chair here. And we're going to meet back here in a second on the yoga ball. Breathing with the pelvic floor as a synchronized movement between the pelvic floor and the diaphragm is going to ultimately help you most effectively lengthen and strengthen your pelvic floor. So let's practice on this yoga ball. I'm going to cycle through a few cues so that everybody can try and find a cue that resonates most with them. If you find that you aren't understanding a cue, that's absolutely fine. The next one may be more helpful to you. So, we're going to start by taking a breath in, thinking about our pelvic floor relaxing and lengthening. So, I want you to picture as if your pelvic floor is the petals of a flower, and when you breathe in, the flowers are opening and expanding. We're going to take a few breaths there. So we're going to breathe in and out. Good. We'll do one more there. In and out. So the important thing to remember is that we're mainly focusing on the inhale here. What we're trying to do is create length and room through that inhalation to allow our pelvic floor to move down more effectively. When we breathe out, we aren't trying to force the pelvic floor back up or squeeze it. All we're wanting to do is have a rebound action of that pelvic floor springing back up naturally. So we're just focusing on the inhale here. We'll cycle through a different cue. This time, when you breathe in, I want you to think about your hip bones spreading apart. When you breathe in, this hip bone's going to go this way, this hip bone's going to go that way. So we'll take a few breaths there. Inhale for me. And exhale. Awesome. And one more. And out. Good. Now, if those two cues haven't really resonated with you, that's absolutely fine. This yoga ball is here for us to try and feel that feedback in a little bit of a more effective way. So this time when you breathe in, I'd like you to try and think about putting more pressure or more weight into the ball on your breath in. So we're going to breathe in and out. We'll do 2 more there. In and out. Last one, in and out. Good. This is the most tricky concept for you to master in this entire course, and I encourage you to try practicing it throughout your day in order to really facilitate and understand the connection between the breath and the pelvic floor's lengthening. It's okay if you don't understand it right away, and it's okay if you don't feel like you're a master of it. I promise with practice, you will become more comfortable and learn what the sensation is meant to feel like. So we're going to meet back on a chair in order to keep practicing this breathing. Let's practice this pelvic floor breathing with some introductory stretches in order for us to really understand how we can pattern this breath. So I'd like you to take a seat in your chair with your back nice and straight and your feet level on the ground. We are going to be doing a seated cat-cow. If you've done yoga before, you may be familiar with this pose. It's typically done on all fours, like you're going to be crawling, but today we're going to practice it in a chair. So, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to do the cow pose. In order to do that, you're going to extend your pelvis forward and arch your back backwards. Here, I want you to think about a big breath in and relaxing that pelvic floor. Then we're going to curl everything under and back and breathe out. We're going to do 10 of those together. And I want you to practice breathing in and relaxing that pelvic floor through the cow. So cow and cat. Cow and cat. Really think about rolling your pelvis backwards and forwards in this position. Cow, lengthen that pelvic floor, and cat. Great job, everybody. We have 4 more to go. We're going to breathe in and out. Last 2. We're going to breathe in, lengthen that pelvic floor, and breathe out. So now we're going to move on to a forward fold in the chair. I'm going to ask everybody to bring their hands up above their head, and you're going to come down towards the ground, keeping your back nice and straight, breathing into that pelvic floor, letting it lengthen into whatever range is available to you, and we're going to come back up. We're going to do 10 of these. So every time you come back up, we're going to move our arms up and come down. Lengthen that pelvic floor when you're coming down and back up. Go as slowly as you need to. And if it's difficult for you to come back up on your own, you can always put your hands on your knees. Great job, everybody. And down. We're halfway there. Control those breaths. You can use your hands again to come back up if you're tired. Breathe in. And out. Good work, everybody. 2 more to go. Last one. Bring those arms up above your head as far as you can. Breathe in. Really think about lengthening that pelvic floor. And come back up. Great job, everybody. The next exercise that we are going to be doing is called a malasana squat, or a pelvic floor squat. What I want everyone to try and do is to get onto their legs and their feet like this. I am going to be moving this chair over to the side, and I encourage you to do the same if you need it for balance. So we're going to come down into kind of a froggy squat with our feet flat on the ground and our hands in between our legs. I want your back to stay as nice and straight as you can. And again, the chair is here for balance if you need it, so you can absolutely use it if you need that. What I want you to do is breathe into your pelvic floor and let it lengthen, thinking about it coming further down towards the ground. And we're going to practice relaxing here. We're going to do 10 breaths together. I want you to breathe in, let that pelvic floor lengthen and open, and breathe out. I like this exercise because it really lets people understand and feel how we are lengthening the pelvic floor in this position, since we're already so open with our legs in this froggy position. Let's practice a few more breaths here. You're going to breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. If this is starting to feel tiring, you can bring your hands onto the ground or onto that chair. If your ankles are starting to feel tight, you can come up onto your toes. That's absolutely fine. Let's do a few more breaths here. In and out. In and out. Good job, everybody. Few more here. In and out. Inhale, let that pelvic floor relax. And out. We're going to do one last one together. In and out. So, in order to get up safely from this position, I'd like you to either use your hands on the ground, you can bring your hand back up onto the chair, or you can even turn your entire body to sit back down onto the chair, whatever you need to stay nice and stable. Thank you so much for joining me on day 1. I hope you learned a little bit about your pelvic floor and the mechanics of breathing with your diaphragm and your pelvic floor together. I encourage you to review that material as often as you need to in order to really understand that pattern. It is the foundation for the rest of the course. I look forward to seeing you on day 2.